When I stopped drinking, Ellie asked. What's wrong? I'm worried that Taekyu will have another accident. Maybe. Is that so? The man the Norwegian princess likes. Perhaps by now, Taekyu is receiving the envy of engineering students? Well, since they say that even one sheep is coming, it won't be a big deal. Yuri, who had just graduated, had many juniors who knew her face. Some of his classmates were still in school due to military and language training. Hey, Yuri, you are so pretty. I ended up joining OTK company. Is the job worth it? It's also pretty and the boys welcome it. Kyung-il asked the question at a very awkward timing, although it was natural for others. You don't have a boyfriend yet? I could see the boys listening to the question all at once. Yuri smiled and said, I don't have time to date because I'm busy with work. For the time being, I have no intention of meeting anyone. That right? You seem very busy. However, if there is something you want to eat or a movie you want to see, feel free to contact your senior. Min-young patted Kyung-il on the shoulder as if telling him to stop. The juniors carry alcohol and food while continuing to block outsiders from entering. I've been indifferent to school, but seeing the juniors that I support as seniors, I feel grateful for some reason. I remember the time when I used to come here with Jinhoo. I thought that too. I remember the first time I went to Korea University with Ellie. Come to think of it, it was already 4 years ago. Come to think of it, I don't know if the woman I met at that time is doing well. Are you Seon? Not him. Oh, is it Hyami Lee? As we smiled at each other thinking about the past, we heard a familiar voice behind us. Oh my Jinhoo. Long time no see. I was perplexed. Are you here too? Short skirt, high heels, gorgeous hairstyle and makeup. Even after graduating, nothing has changed. Hyami Lee looked at me and pretended to be friendly. How much is this for us? It's so nice. His big strength is that he acts casually no matter what has happened in the past. Ellie smiled and waved her hand. Nice to meet you. It's been a really long time. Your lover is also here. Good morning. It's a look that's suddenly gone awry. There were 2 other female classmates beside Lee Hyami. She's not particularly friendly, but she's still nice to see her after a long time. What did you come here for? Park Miju said. After hearing that you were coming, we also came to play. Who said I was coming? Few people have said it. Kim Min-young shook her head and Min Kyung-il shook her head for nothing. Hey, what does that matter? It's important that the classmates get together in one place. Come on, let's have a drink. The pubs in other departments were moderately empty, but the pubs in the business department were already full. This is how business is going to go. The management and pubs were located close to the stage, so the stage could be seen from a distance. While we were drinking and talking, MC Ding Dong continued. Singing contest, dance contest, talent show, music college performances, etc. It seems that there is another talent that makes the same comment fun, and I burst into laughter every time it was held. Now then, let's start the dance competition. Ellie abruptly got up. I'm going out. Did you get drunk? Why? They say you can be an outsider. I dance well. It's a problem because you dance well. Isn't it a massacre of civilians for Ellie to go to college students' talent show? Yuri put down her glass of beer and said, Let's go out together, sister. Are you drunk too? Come to think of it, soju bottles were all over the table. When the hell did you drink this much? Senior Sanjiop brought a group of children. He drank quite a bit, so his face was already red. Are you juniors from the math department? No. Kids from the Real Investment Club. The Practical Investment Club was not a very popular club. However, after me and Sanjiop Sr. became famous, the competition to join the club was reminiscent of the entrance exam at Hankook University. These days, interviews are the basics, and it is said that they are selected through mock investment. Do I have to do that to join the club? This friend is now the club president. The male student wearing glasses bowed and greeted. Hello, sir. This is Korean language and literature and Choi Young-bin. In the meantime, I have heard a lot of legends about you. We will work hard. The eyes of the juniors in the club who looked at me shone brightly. Should I recommend a coin or stock to buy in the future? Unfortunately, I don't know, so I can't tell you. After sending the juniors from the club, Senior Sanjiop pulled a chair and sat down. I should drink here too. Senior Ki Hong asked. Can I get you some soju or a beer? Mix it in moderation. While we were toasting, there was a lot of commotion at the Apple Orchard Tavern. The murmur of the students could be heard all the way here. Wow. The manager of Golden Gate said he came to the economics department with her husband. I'm drinking with the professors at the tavern. Jackpot. You even appeared on CNN this time to get married. What day is it today? Said Ellie. Looks like you are here now. Unlike us who left early, Hyunju Nuna left work and left. The Golden Gate Korean branch manager is in a higher position than most bank presidents or brokerage CEOs. And Henry is the grandson of Golden Gate CEO. It is natural for the entire Apple stand to be turned over. Ellie grabbed my hand and pulled me out. Let's go play over there. I'll be there for a while. I went with Ellie to the economics department and the pub. I saw Hyunju's older sister and Henry sitting in the tavern. At the appearance of the two, the current students as well as the graduates looked frozen. The faces of other Golden Gate employees were also seen. Are you here, sister? Hyunju Nuna looked around her in wonder. It really has changed a lot. It's not like our school festival. I filled Hyunju Nuna's glass with her beer. By the way, it's the first time I've seen you at school. Yeah. It's between our seniors and juniors. Ellie got up and took her glass of beer. Today's drink is from the Golden Gate branch manager, so let's toast together. When you graduate, don't forget to apply for a job at Golden Gate. At that, the students all raised their glasses in unison. I'll drink it, thank you, senior. When I returned to the pub in the business administration department, the professors were already there. Professor Myung-Jun Kim asked, Are you having fun? Gwadi came with the menu board. What would you like to drink? Just bring it all. The richest man in the world is here, so what are you worried about? Isn't it okay if I get it from a student? It's okay in the department store. The long-awaited celebrity performance has finally begun. It was already full of people in front of the stage. These days, it is a hot girl group that was raised and raced by CEO Kang Jin-hoo. This is Pure Girls. 4 girls came up on the stage and MC Deng Dong held out a microphone and asked. As you know, this is CEO Kang Jin-hoo's alma mater. By the way, CEO Kang Jin-hoo is here today, so please say something. I didn't even join a fan club, but everyone considers me the #1 official fan. The leader Earl bowed to the waist and said, Thank you very much, President. We will always work hard without losing our initial focus. Solar, who has a lively personality, said next to her. Please continue to grow us in the future. MC Dang Dong said. Originally, I was going to bring CEO Kang Jin-hoo to this place to hold a fan meeting, but if I do that, I will be cut off immediately. Pure Girls sang 3 songs including Catch Me Please. Then when the male idol group KST appeared, the female students cheered. As time passed, the drunken children began to appear. A child who sleeps on his stomach, a child who cries while drunk, a child who comforts him next to him. Hey, Hwang Mina. I love you. Date with me. Who is the crazy guy who confesses to being drunk in the middle of this? Of course it was T. There really seems to be at least one of these guys at a time. Who was it in our class? Minyoung answered Kyung-il's question. It's you. No, what did I do? Do you remember how many kids you confessed to because you were drunk? Park Miju said. Right. You confessed to me too. What? Everyone has a black history. In the past it was passed down by word of mouth, but these days it is stuffed into video. The exaggerated came and said. Hey Jin-hoo Kong. Why? Pure Girls came to me and asked if I could see you for a while. Huh. Me. Ellie patted my back. It's fine. You are a Jinho fan. Me. Oh, take you, where did you go? Anyway, I came to say hello to you, but I'm sorry for just telling you to go back. Reluctantly, I got up from my seat and headed towards the entrance of the tavern. In front stood 4 girls with a male manager. In that order: Earl, Solar, Tommy and Louise. In the meantime, it's a normal outfit, not a stage outfit. Seeing me, Earl bowed his head with a nervous look and greeted me. Hello, sir. Nice to meet you. Chubby cheeks, big eyes without a pair of twins, pure white skin and trademark bifurcated hair. It wasn't much different from what I saw on TV. In fact, it looks really cute. I enjoyed the song. Come on, thank you, sir. We will work harder in the future so as not to go against our expectations. Black. Earl didn't speak and tears were streaming down her cheeks. It's okay. Yes. Now wait a minute. In the end, he burst into tears as if he was overcome with emotion, and the other members next to him also burst into tears. Isn't this what I called? As we went back, famous singers appeared and the atmosphere became even hotter. While the show was in full swing, I walked slowly along campus with Ellie. Ellie rested her body on my shoulder, apparently drunk. It's okay. Of course. I don't think it's been a long time since I've had such a pleasant drink. It was dark around us and everyone was paying attention to the stage, so hardly anyone recognized. There were laughter and chattering all over the place. There were also children who stumbled in alcohol or were supported by friends. Some departments cleared up pubs or moved furniture early. A festival is a moment. From tomorrow onwards, I'll have to go back to my daily routine as if I did when. Ellie looked at me and said. Jinho's expression looked somewhat lonely. I just feel a little sad. In the meantime, I made an unimaginable amount of money, but I couldn't spend the rest of my college days. If I had continued to go to school, I would have participated in festivals like I do now and got along with my seniors and juniors. Then I would have graduated by now and got a job somewhere. After all, it's something I didn't have. Eli heard me and said, It's an opportunity cost. It's like that. Are you sorry? Is it possible? After all, you only have one life and you can't have everything you want. But I think I know one thing for sure. What? How precious is now. Time past doesn't come back. Life is a series of numerous choices, as the saying goes, between birth and death. Come to think of it, I'm only in my 20s now. How many choices do you have to make in life? Choosing something means losing the opportunity to choose something else. The present is obtained by giving up all possibilities. And the future would be to give up and gain all other possibilities of the present. Thinking like that, I was able to make up my mind. What do you think this time? I'll tell you later. Wouldn't she know what I'm trying to say? Ellie looked at me with a beautiful smile. I will be waiting. Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Korea University. It was still early for drinking, so most of the pubs were empty. However, the commune and the tavern were already full. There is nothing special about the pub, the snacks are not delicious, and the price is not cheap. Even so, the crowd was not enough, so there was a long queue in front. There were many students from other schools who had come to see them, as well as those who had abandoned their work. The eyes of the drinker and the person waiting were fixed on one place. And at the end of that gaze was a white woman in her early 20s. Hankook University accepts international students from various countries. As such, it was not uncommon to see foreigners on campus. However, Annika's status is a whopping Norwegian princess. Besides, she was a game ambassador in Norway and she likes games enough to cosplay on game shows. Even when she first entered the school, she said that after graduating she wanted to work in the game industry. Due to the nature of the engineering college with few women, Annika established herself as a mascot as soon as she entered the school. Her boys felt her heart pound at her sight of Annika serving her with her playful look and bubbly look. I hope the computer and the boys are good. If I had known this would be the case, I would also go with Kong. Asterisk, are you going to come to the engineering college MT? I will definitely go to this MT. There were not just a couple of engineering students who were excited by Anku's one expression, one gesture, and every word she said. Everyone was secretly having heartache, but no one expressed their feelings directly. This is because her identity is her identity and her bodyguards always follow her around. Lee Hyunwoong, an ex-communist and an exaggerated person, approached Annika and asked affectionately, "Isn't it hard?" "Yes, sir." At the word Sunbeam, she spontaneously turned her face red and her heart beat faster. I had no idea what to do. She was just friendly and happy just to be able to talk to her like this. Hyunwoong Lee considered her role and mission as her college major to help her enjoy her school life until graduation. "I will gladly become a knight protecting the princess. If you're having a hard time, talk to me anytime." "Okay." A man appeared while Ankur had been away for a while to carry her luggage. Ages around mid-20s. He was slightly chubby and wore black horn-rimmed glasses. He was such an ordinary man you could see anywhere. "Is this Kamgong and a tavern?" Yes. "You can line up over there." He looked around him and asked, "Where is Annika? Why are you calling the princess by name?" Hyunwoong Lee showed strong vigilance. "Why are you looking for it?" "It's my friend." "Are you friends?" She glanced up and down at her opponent with suspicious eyes, and a neck shouted from behind, "Take you Appa." People in the department, including Hyunwoong Lee, were startled. "Brother." Of course, no one at school calls a neck her brother. But who the hell is this man to be called brother? "The seats are already full. I have reserved your place for you." The two sat down. It was after all central. The two smiled happily as if on a date and clashed their glasses. When Taekgyu stroked Annika's head with his hand, sparks flew from the eyes of the engineering students who saw it. "No, that bastard. How dare you put your dirty hands on the princess? It's rude." Rather, a handsome white man would be able to convince him. But what the hell is that guy? How did he get along with the princess like that? It's hard to believe just the current situation, but then something even more incredible happened. A woman walked into the tavern. Her small face, pure white skin, long straight ebony hair, a silk shirt that exposed her shoulders, and a short frill skirt. She was truly a beauty to the extent that she was drunk. At her appearance, the men all turned their heads at once. "Who is this woman? What's so pretty? Is she a celebrity? Are you a princess from another country?" The man with Annika raised his hand. "Here. Take you." A drinking party took place with a man wearing glasses in the middle. Hyunwoong Lee's gaze was still fixed on Annika. Seeing the princess laughing and joking around, I felt her mouth dry out. I've never seen a face like that. Although Annika was friendly with women, she maintained a certain line with her male colleagues and seniors. This is to avoid any scandal. "Are you sure you like that guy?" No way." Hyunwoong Lee continued to drink to quench his burning throat. As I drank like that, I got more and more drunk. At some point his eyes began to spin round and round. "Where you are. That place should have been mine. The name of your brother, you hear? That name should have been mine. All should have been mine." Except for the guy who sang while drunk, nothing happened. "So what happened? How is it?" "It was just that the other kids took it on their own. Looks like they had a good time and had a lot of fun with no incidents." Taekgyu said as if he had remembered something. "Oh right. After the show, pure girls came to the pub with the computer." "Huh. I told you to go." "I only told the leader, Earl, that it was the vice president, not me, who made the investment decision. And I asked him to stop by the tavern with the princess, and he told me that the man with the princess was the vice president." Dean said proudly. I shook hands with Earl and took a picture. He looked at me and said thank you in a small voice. "Well done. Since you saved an unknown girl group through investment, you can get a greeting." I secretly gave you my contact information." I was surprised by that. "What? Why are you giving me your contact information?" "I do not know. I want you to contact me." "Isn't this supposed to be one more harem member?" Just as we go back to our daily life after the festival is over, we also went to work the next day. The companies needed to build the data center have completed their acquisitions, and a kit is in the process of designing the data center. It is the world's largest single data center. The location was decided through competition after receiving applications from cities that wanted to host it. The United States, Canada, and Ireland showed great interest. AMZ and MS were strongly restraining the establishment of OTK company's data center. Investment companies that visited Simangium decided to further increase their investment. In fact, putting a building on an empty field is risky. Real estate does not exist alone. If the surrounding development is not done properly, unsold or vacant units will be born. However, global companies are already building buildings and factories at the same time. Money has the power to make things that shouldn't be done. It was difficult to fail as long as there was this much capital pouring in. While things were going smoothly, an incident occurred in Korea. Investigator Shin Jong-hoon of the Blue House Special Inspection Team suddenly revealed to the media that he would make a confession of conscience. Breaking news. Investigator Shin Jong-hoon whistleblower. The Blue House and the prosecution had prior sympathy for the arrest of Chairman Im Jin-young. President Chang Min-hyo, were you aware of this fact? Who ordered the arrest of Chairman Im Jin-young? This revelation shocked the country. What? The Blue House ordered to arrest Im Jin-young? This is the left-wing government class. In the end, it was to kill the chaebol. What kind of bullshit? Im Jin-young was arrested for committing a crime. He was not redeemed by making no sin. Boy, the problem is that the Blue House ordered it. Hyo Changmin ordered me to kill Im Jin-young. Hey, they said that when they were in the opposition party, the prosecution looked at the government. Since I took over the government, I ordered an investigation. Isn't this impeachment? Release Chairman Im Jin-young immediately. Take this opportunity to release former President Park Si-hyung, the most honest of all time. The Liberal National Party, which had been quiet for a while after the economic hearings, raised its voice again. Representative Yoon Nak-young said at a party meeting held at the National Assembly, investigator Shin Jong-hoon's revelations are the biggest declaration of conscience since the democratization movement in the 1980s. This is clearly the killing of the chaebol by the left-wing government and non-government management, and the prosecution must immediately thoroughly investigate and punish those involved. Also, as investigator Shin Jong-hoon is a public interest informant who uncovered corruption, he should be protected according to the law. We, the Liberal National Party, will protect those who oppose great power and fight to the end. Other Liberal National Party lawmakers also vehemently criticized the government. From a legal point of view, there is no problem in the arrest of Im Jin-young itself. However, it would be a different story if they had contacted the Blue House in advance. If the Blue House intervenes in the judgment of the judiciary, it is a matter that can spread to a solicitation for prosecution or a judicial transaction. The Blue House was quick to evolve. Investigator Shin Jong-hoon was under investigation on charges of bribery and abuse of power. This is not a public interest report, but only a one-sided claim to cover one's misconduct. We make it clear that the prosecution is an independent agency and there was no direction or communication from the Blue House in the investigation. The prosecution also strongly denied the facts. Prosecutor General Moon Dae-suk did not hide his displeasure in front of reporters. Read more at wuxiax.com. The prosecution only investigates in accordance with the law and principles. It's problematic for the media to publish nonsense with no evidence. I met Kwon Young-cheol, the head of Seosong Group. He is known as the successor to the retired director Kim Myung-soo and was an alumnus of Chairman Im Jin-young while studying abroad. I asked him, is the revelation of investigator Shin Jong-hoon true? Although the political circles are engaged in a brawl over the revelations, the Seosong Group has not made a separate statement. You don't want to look hateful to either side as the group leader is being arrested. Director Kwon Young-cheol nodded his head with a dark expression. It is most likely true. No matter how great a crime you commit, you are innocent until proven guilty. This is the so-called presumption of innocence. Therefore, in principle, investigations without detention are carried out, but only when the crime is serious and there is a risk of destruction of evidence or escape. However, no matter what crimes they have committed so far, the presidents have been tried without detention for various reasons. Korea's very tolerance for financial and economic crimes also played a part in this. Killing people with a knife carries life imprisonment, but stealing money to kill dozens, destroy hundreds of families and leave thousands in debt can be years in prison, and if you're lucky you can get away with probation. The most common crimes committed by the presidents are not assault or injury, but embezzlement or breach of trust. If the evidence is insufficient, the investigation is conducted without detention on the ground that the evidence is insufficient. And if the evidence is clear, there is no risk of destruction of evidence or escape. Conversely, in this case too, there were many opinions that there was no need for an arrest investigation because the evidence was too clear. In addition, Seosong Group is preparing for a large-scale investment including Simangium. The prevailing expectation was that the investigation would be conducted without detention as it would be a burden on the government as well. However, contrary to everyone's expectations, Chairman Im Jin-yong was arrested. If you consider the influence the Seosong Group has on this country, I thought that they would conduct an investigation without detention. Even so, was it not possible to avoid imprisonment in the first trial anyway? Even if a prison sentence is issued in the first trial, it does not necessarily mean that you are arrested. Again, he is innocent until the Supreme Court decides. For this reason, even after being sentenced to imprisonment in the first trial, arrest is sometimes delayed until the appeal trial is over. He continued. We devised a strategy to avoid arrest even after the first trial because of the defendant's right to defend, and to receive a reduced sentence in the second trial and end with a probation. But just before that, the atmosphere of the prosecution suddenly changed. Is it because of the Blue House? Isn't it because Chairman Im Jin-yong was arrested because of his sin? Director Kwon Young-cheol smiled bitterly at my words. I'm not saying this, but since when did the prosecution apply the principle to the chairman of the chaebol? Prosecutors continued to ask for attendance, but investigator Shin Jong-hoon did not respond. Accordingly, the prosecution issued an arrest warrant. Nevertheless, he was hiding and appeared on an A2 broadcast and shouted, "The problem is not Im Jin-yong. This government is afraid of a strong earthquake. The reason that Chairman Im Jin-yong was arrested is to warn Kong Jin-hoo." Investigator Shin Jong-hoon's revelations continued. In the Blue House, voices of dissatisfaction with CEO Kong Jin-hoo have been heard for a long time. The arrest of Chairman Im Jin-yong this time is also to show that political power is overpowering capital power. He is going to eliminate the hole through which the chaebol can escape by decisively punishing the crimes of the chaebols he has been watching. In a word, the Blue House was afraid of Kong Jin-hoo, so they used the prosecution to kill the chaebol. In addition, he continued with minor revelations such as parachuting public corporations and intervening in personnel, and finally said, "Besides this, there is not one or two things to disclose. From now on we will expose the corruption of this government in turn. My acquaintances are worried that I might commit suicide, but I don't commit suicide no matter what. If I die, it's murder, not suicide. Again, I never commit suicide." This revelation has taken the internet by surprise. So you're not saying that in the end, Im Jin-yong was captured because of Kong Jin-hoo? No, what the hell did Jin-hoo Kong do wrong? The Blue House is just afraid. Frankly, are you going to count the words of the president now, or will you count after Kong Jin-hui? The president changes after 5 years anyway. But in 5 years after the earthquake your wealth will have doubled. Park Si-hyung was also sent away after Kong Jin-hoo. There is no law that says Hyo Chong-min shouldn't be like that. No, is what he said before that really true? You said he was the one being investigated for abuse of power and bribes. Do you believe in such criminals? A revamp to cover up one's sins by making an issue. The police broke into the office tower where the video was filmed with a warrant, but he had already disappeared. The next day he left a text message to his wife saying, "Take care of the family," and cut off all contact. What? Did you commit suicide? Hyo Chong-min sent a red metais. Did the government really kill you? Does this make sense? Haha, the left-wing government class that committed suicide after revealing the corruption of the Blue House. How is this different from the fifth ball era? No matter how stupid the government is, would they kill the informant in this situation? Impeach Hyo Chong-min. The police mobilized a large-scale manpower to search. Fortunately, he was found in a motel near Shilla University. At the time of discovery, there were lightning bullets and ropes inside the motel, and it was revealed that he had attempted suicide. Breaking news. Investigator Shin Jong-hoon found breathing in a motel in Seoul. Police investigator Shin Jong-hoon arrested. Life is not affected but transported to hospital. As soon as the condition improves, reapply for the arrest warrant. The Liberal People's Party insisted that he be protected as a whistleblower, but the New Politics Party opposed that he should be punished for leaking business secrets. In any case, investigator Shin Jong-hoon was arrested as the charges were certain for misconduct. As it was a revelation without any evidence, it was just an atmosphere that ended with a happening. But again, it didn't end there. President Ha Chong-min spoke at the State Council meeting. Recently, the outflow of corporate funds using tax havens and offshore tax evasion have gone too far. It goes without saying that where there is income, there are taxes. As this leads to a sense of deprivation among the people who faithfully pay taxes, and may lead to tax resistance, we ask that you thoroughly investigate the relevant matters. He also mentioned the Panama Papers incident that occurred several years ago. It is a case in which confidential documents of a law firm called Mossack Fonseca in Panama were leaked, and through this document, the corporations and owners established in Panama, famous for tax havens and the British Virgin Islands, were revealed. The list includes politicians and Hollywood stars from around the world. Many celebrities including sports stars, entrepreneurs and criminals were included, and Koreans were not alone. This shows how widespread tax evasion using tax havens is. After the president's remarks, Nam Yoon-sang, head of the National Tax Service, made an emergency announcement. The scale of offshore tax evasion is increasing every year due to the overseas expansion of companies and the increase in international transactions. The National Tax Service collected 1.4 trillion won last year, followed by 1.8 trillion won last year. For the sake of tax equity, intensive tax investigations will be carried out if it is confirmed that the company has concealed offshore income and assets regardless of the size of the corporation or the individual. In the future, we will eradicate hidden assets overseas and offshore tax evasion by hiring more manpower. Currently, non-reporting offshore income and property are temporarily subject to voluntary reporting until the end of the year. If you voluntarily report, you can receive criminal tolerance for crimes such as exemption from penalties, fines, and tax evasion. For tax evasion caught after that period, we will work with the prosecution to apply the zero-tolerance principle. To keep pace with this, the new political party decided to legislate a law that makes reporting mandatory and punishes offshore assets worth more than $100,000. Under the pretext of preventing outflow of funds and tax evasion. An official notice from the National Tax Service was sent to me, Taekyu and Hyunju Nuna. This is to voluntarily report offshore assets. Ting asked me, why are they all of a sudden? OTK company, as everyone knows, has a corporation in a tax haven. It is not uncommon to establish a corporation in a tax haven for the purpose of exposing identity, protecting assets and saving taxes. So far it's legal, so there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is tax evasion and money laundering. Korea already imposes taxes on offshore income of its residents. For example, if you buy US stocks in Korea and make a profit, you have to pay taxes not only in the US but also in Korea. However, corporations are a different story. Korea does not have the authority to impose taxes on income generated by foreign corporations. However, I can only be taxed when the funds of OTK company are transferred to me as dividends or salary. However, OTK company rarely pays dividends and continues to reinvest. Therefore, there is no tax to be paid in Korea. Industrial capital builds factories on land and hires manpower. However, financial capital can move freely anywhere. What capital considers important is tax and regulation. Panama, classified as a tax haven, has the largest number of merchant ships in the world. Merchant ships can be registered where taxes and regulations are low in accordance with the principle of convenience. So, regardless of the country in which the ship is built and the nationality of the owner, ship owners register their ships in Panama. In the case of American PF Lone Star, after establishing a subsidiary in Belgium, it invested in Korea and made huge profits. The reason why I had to invest through a Belgian offshore company is that, according to the Korea-US tax treaty, tax must be paid to Korea on profits made in Korea, but the Korea-Belgium tax treaty is tax-free. In Korea, the Belgian subsidiary was an offshore company and all investment profits were attributed to Lone Star, and taxation began, and Lone Star countered that the tax was unfair, and the issue eventually went up to the ISD. Another example is Enpol, Gubble, Facenote and the like. They were caught selling their services while driving revenue to Ireland, which has the lowest corporate tax in the EU. The EU has threatened to impose billions of dollars in fines for this, and IT companies strongly opposed it. As such, countries and multinational corporations are engaged in a fierce battle over taxes. If OTK company had been a Korean corporation from the beginning, it would not have been easy to move overseas. However, OTK company started as a tax haven from the beginning. And starting with the sale proceeds of Bantcoin, assets have been steadily called up. Strictly speaking, it has nothing to do with Korea, except that the shareholders and CEO are all Korean. And yet, all of a sudden, are you really targeting me? I remembered President Ha Chong-min, whom I met the other day. Deep wrinkles and tightly closed lips. The man I saw was strong and upright. As a lawyer, he took care of the socially underprivileged rather than pursuing personal achievement. That is worthy of respect. But just because he's good in person doesn't necessarily make him a good president. If he thinks that controlling capital power is justice, what will happen? Taejayu said. How about changing our nationality? Some people say that nationality is something they get from birth, but it is difficult for some people to get it even if they work hard for the rest of their lives. Developed countries with higher welfare levels have stricter conditions for issuance of citizenship. But money solves all problems. If you're going to go with a year's worth of national budget, what country would you hate? Korea is one nation and one nation. Since the Korean people are Koreans, changing nationality is treated as betrayal. However, most countries are multi-ethnic. There are 55 ethnic groups in China alone, and the United States is a gathering place for all races in the world to the extent that it is called the melting pot of races. The United States welcomes naturalized people as Americans. Immigrants are also the driving force behind America's growth. An immigrant from India becomes the CEO of a trillion-dollar company, and an immigrant from Austria or Mexico becomes the governor. Even the former president's father is Kenyan. The governor can be a naturalized American, but the president is the United States. Born only. A few years ago, when the French government offered a tax of up to 75% on the wealthy, many rich people, including famous actors Depardieu and Alain Delon, gave up their French citizenship and acquired nationality from other countries. LVMH Arnault, France's richest man, applied for Belgian citizenship, but cancelled it due to public backlash. There are public opinion criticizing this, but there are also opinions that it is an individual choice and should be respected. In any case, nationality is viewed as a matter of individual choice. In the case of other chaebols, it is difficult to naturalize abroad as they already have their headquarters and businesses in Korea and are highly dependent on the Korean market. There will also be a lot of public opposition. But I don't care. Now that I've completed my military service, I don't think it will take any longer. I met Director Kwon Young-cheol again. Investigator Shin Jong-hoon's revelations, whether true or not, have been a great help to the Seosong Group. Public opinion that the arrest of Chairman Im Jin-yong was unfair has grown. Is the government really doing this for me? He nodded. It cannot be said that it is because of you, but it is true that the government is feeling a lot of pressure. The Korean economy is now being driven by OTK Company. What would be the current economic growth rate without OTK Company? According to our Economic Research Institute's calculations, even 2% would have been hard. Even this is a figure when the government has put in a large-scale supplementary budget. The same is true of diplomatic relations with the United States, China, Russia, and Japan. What would have happened if the representative wasn't there? If only Japan's trade retaliation took place right now, whose side would the United States take? In East Asia, South Korea and Japan are important allies of the United States. However, in terms of priority, Japan is definitely ahead. In fact, when they were at a disadvantage in the Korea-Japan trade dispute, Japan lobbied heavily in Washington, D.C., and requested mediation on its side. Ronald stopped it at my request. While the president was working on everything, what did the government do in the meantime? Taekyu thought for a moment and said, I haven't really done anything. President Ha Chong-min did not commit any major mistake. But he didn't do anything very well. It was the CEO's job to catch the skyrocketing house prices in Seoul by promoting the Simangium development. The government just put a spoon on it. In short, this government has done nothing. So we have no choice but to pay more attention to the representative's existence. As long as the president has been arrested, the words that come out will not be audible. It is true that your presence is of great help to the Korean economy. But no government likes power out of control. Even the chaebol who reigns above the law is afraid of the government and the National Assembly. No, I don't know if I'm actually afraid or not, but at least acted like that. So when he went to the hearing, he politely bowed his head despite the shouting of a young member of the National Assembly. But I was far from the behavior of those chaebols. Even if I do nothing, my very existence is a threat. Director Kwon Young-cheol nodded his head. If a tiger in the same room says it won't harm people, will you be able to sleep in peace? Money has power just by being gathered. Who would believe me if I said I wouldn't use it for anything bad? It is not just a problem with the Ha Chong-min government. Even if the government changes next time, the representative has become too big for Korea to embrace now. President Ha Chong-min remarked at a meeting of senior aides at the Blue House. It is a typical antisocial act that undermines the fairness and justice of our society for some companies and wealthy people to illegally hide their wealth abroad to avoid taxes. In order to eradicate this problem, I hope that related organizations such as the National Tax Service, Customs Service, and the prosecutor's office will set up a joint investigation team and come up with a plan to cooperate with follow-up investigations, punishment, and even the recovery of criminal proceeds. When the taxation principle is set right and all citizens are equal before the law, the Republic of Korea, where justice flows like a river, can be said to have been created. The Blue House moved to the president's words, and the ruling party and each institution responded to the Blue House's move. Immediately, working-level officials from the prosecution, the National Tax Service, and the Korea Customs Service met to form a joint investigation team, joined by the Financial Intelligence Service and the Financial Supervisory Service. The plan is to detect tax evasion and money laundering by closely analyzing the details of the voluntary report and the overseas remittance transactions collected by each institution. It is a true all-round pressure on the issue of offshore tax evasion. Among the chaebols, there were more than 10 people whose names were mentioned after the charges were caught. If the borrowed name property or income is hidden, it will end in tax evasion. But if the company's funds are stolen, embezzlement and breach of trust are added. There was likely to be a backlash. But after Chairman Im Jin-young was arrested, the business world was walking on thin ice, so everyone could not say anything. If only innocent people among you should be asked to throw stones. But since all of you have committed so many sins, you have no choice but to remain silent. Unfortunately, this is the reality of the Korean chaebols. In fact, if we want to collect taxes properly, who can openly oppose it? Tax collection is the power of the state and the basis of maintaining the state. But no one wants to pay high taxes. So, in order to pay as little tax as possible, we are walking a tightrope between tax saving and tax evasion. Beyond the intensification of the National Tax Service's investigation, the method of extorting funds is also becoming more sophisticated. Is it a chase-and-chase game? As demonstrated by the Panama Papers case, it is now common to establish corporations in tax havens. In any case, even if a law that strengthens the voluntary reporting and punishment of offshore assets is enacted, we will not be particularly hurt. OTK Company has a corporation in Dela Island, and everyone already knows about its equity relationship. Some of the company's assets are cash and most of it consists of stakes in several companies. Keris, OTK Games, Faceit, M-Pizza, Arcit, Tenway, etc. All of these companies are also unlisted companies, so it is not easy to accurately evaluate their values. It's just the media talking about hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars. According to the voluntary declaration form, the exact financial position of the corporation must also be submitted. In this way, the government will be able to see how much stake in which company OTK Company owns and how much money has been earned by investing in it. We first met Hyunju Nuna. The financial sector also reacted sensitively to the government's policy changes. It is said that a lot of inquiries came in from all over the place during the day. It's the large corporations and the wealthy who are more upset than us. Because there are not one or two individuals and companies that have established corporations in tax havens. Everyone is paying close attention to the National Tax Service's move. How will this affect us? Hyunju's older sister said as she drank her coffee. Well, the government cannot tax foreign corporations. However, it may be possible to transfer some of the funds to Korea, or pressurize subsidiaries to list them on an exchange. Most companies aim to go public. However, very few of them are actually listed. The reason why you want to go public, even if you try to pass a needle-hole review or use a shortcut such as a detour listing through a merger, is because you can raise money by selling stocks to investors. But we don't have to. This is because OTK Company made money through various financial investments and invested in subsidiaries instead of receiving external investment. Even if you need more investment, there is no reason to go public in a situation where there are already many places where you want to invest. Maybe one day I'll have to do it, but not yet. Taejayu said. If you say something in Korea, why not change your nationality to the United States? Hyunju's older sister shook her head. It's not that simple. Why? Do you think America will have no taxes? Death and taxes are unavoidable, and even if the FBI can get away with it, the IRS chases them to the ends of the globe. In developed countries, the more severe the taxation, the more severe, but not less. The same is true of the United States, which imposes additional taxes on the offshore income of its citizens. No, it's more strict than Korea. In Korea, it is enough to endure because there is no money to pay taxes, but in the United States, that is arrest. The bottom line is that changing your citizenship to the US is not the solution. Why are you here now? Hyunju Nuna said while drinking coffee. It is the same as the arrest of Chairman Im Jin-young. The economic situation is good, and thanks to the Simangium development, the approval ratings of the president and the ruling party have risen significantly. I will do whatever I want as long as the victory in the next general election is certain. Taekyu nodded his head as if he understood. Is it a Senjin Fusalta? In the case of Simangium development, many domestic and foreign capitals trusted me and decided to invest. So it's hard to get out of here now. If time goes by like this, there will be some who have decided that the politicians can be swayed by capital power. When it comes to Korean chaebols, It is not uncommon for companies to go over or to disband because of only 1 or 2 trillion won. On the other hand, OTK company has a different scale. It is said that the subsidiary Carlos is the number 1 in the world market capitalization, not to mention OTK company. It is unprecedented for a company of this size to be in a tax haven and to be an unlisted company. You see, it's hard to stay in this state forever. In short, the company has grown too large to remain a tax haven. Fortunately, it is in the form of an investment company and a holding company, but if the business had been conducted directly, the problem would have escalated sooner. The corporate tax that Samsung Electronics paid to Korea last year alone is 17 trillion won. If we can bring OTK company, we can expect more tax revenue. We're not making that much money, because we keep reinvesting to the point where we don't make any profit. Aside from the immediate tax revenue, simply moving corporations would increase the nation's wealth by more than $1 trillion. Wouldn't it be worth coveting anywhere? Although the Korean government suddenly drew its sword, other advanced countries were also at war with tax havens from a long time ago. In the case of manufacturing, a permanent establishment is established in each country and taxes are paid in that region. However, data and services cross borders freely. Even if the service is sold in Korea, the tax on the profits is paid to the server or other region where the corporation is located. Of course, the area is primarily a tax haven with low tax rates. In response, countries are devising measures to come up with a way to collect taxes. The same is true of the United States, which suffers from a headache about offshore assets. NPL and Gubal are accumulating tens of billions of dollars in foreign corporations in tax havens such as Ireland. When this money is brought into the United States, it is left there because there are huge taxes. President Ronald wielded a whip to encourage large corporations to bring foreign cash into the United States, while urging them to offer a temporary cut in remittance taxes. I thought for a moment, is this really for social justice, as President Chong Min-hyo said, or is it because of me, as Secretary Shin Jong-hoon said? I remembered the time I met President Ha Chong-min. There was a strong conviction in his expression and actions. If Park Si-hyung only acted for his own self-interest, is he acting for what he believes in justice? I suddenly had this thought. With the money I have, wouldn't it be possible to set up a political party and make a president? In a democracy, political power is elected through elections. But historically, money has always had a huge impact on elections. Elections in the United States are like money. And at the root of it is a political donation that can be raised indefinitely called super PAC. Election funds are collected because it looks like they will be elected, and when election funds are collected, it leads to actual election. In the last U.S. presidential election with Ronald and Diane, everyone expected Diane to win. This is because, unlike Diane, who attracted a huge number of super PACs, Ronald held the election without super PACs. So Ronald's election was a huge surprise. And thanks to not receiving a super PAC, he was able to dictate his own policies without being swayed by his backers. The Koch brothers are among the people who exert the greatest influence on American politics through these political donations. The two brothers, who run an oil giant called Koch Industries, control the Republican Party. Without their support, it is even said that it is impossible to run for the internal party elections. Unlike the United States, Korea does not recognize unlimited political donations. But there are many things you can do with money. In fact, I won Ronald by investing in Rust Belt. There will be no law prohibiting you from doing the same in Korea. The National Tax Service has launched an intensive tax investigation against 59 people who are accused of offshore tax evasion. At the same time, the prosecution also launched an investigation. Related chaebols stood in line at the prosecutor's office photo line. Opposition parties and conservative media criticized it as killing the chaebol, but the National Tax Service and the prosecution did not care. And customers came to OTK company. She was a middle-aged man and woman who outwardly looked extremely ordinary. At first glance she looked like her husband and wife. But the two are just co-workers. Good morning. This is Jang Ki-wook, the head of the investigation department of the National Tax Service. This is Investigator Lee Bo-kyung. Taek-yu said in a strange way. I am reporting voluntarily, but you came to visit me in person. Since when did the service of the National Tax Service improve so much? It doesn't matter to salaried people, but from the perspective of business people, the National Tax Service is scarier than the prosecution. The reason, of course, is the tax audit. Once the tax audit is done properly, a well-established conglomerate may stumble. Of course, this is also a testament to the seriousness of corporate tax evasion. In the case of Susong Group, when the National Tax Service attacked that they would conduct an emergency tax investigation, security guards prevented them from entering, while removing the hard drive containing the accounting books and degaussing them. In the case of former President Park Si-hyung, he wielded tax investigations against deaf individuals and corporations as if it were a report of imputation. We too have experienced several tax audits. It has been quiet since Big One. The two sat down and looked through the papers we handed out. Jang Ki-wook, who had been closely watching for a long time, raised his head and looked at me. There are many things missing from the report. There are fewer documents attached. Is it possible? My personal assets and income, as well as the taxes and expenses I have paid, should have been perfectly organized. That part is fine. However, significant information about OTK Company is missing. Voluntary reporting on details of offshore assets is only a recommendation. Hasn't it been enacted yet? At my words, he covered the material he was looking at. Hyo Kong-jin-hu. The CEO has done many things in the meantime, and I respect that as well. But the president is also a citizen of the Republic of Korea, and shouldn't he have to abide by the laws and principles? The two had a unique atmosphere as a tax official. If your job is stable and your salary comes out regularly, there is no need to look out for other people. So, regardless of whether the opponent is a chaebol or a powerful person, he can focus on his original task of collecting taxes. I laughed bitterly. Laws and principles? I know you want to put a leash around the tiger's neck, but... Yes. Go back and tell me. We will continue to voluntarily report any matters deemed necessary. But I have no intention of doing anything about it in the future. In fact, when they refused to report voluntarily, the Blue House and the ruling party did not hide their discomfort. In any case, the government cannot arbitrarily look into the assets and transaction details of overseas corporations as long as they do not hand over the data. That's why we're still trying to catch offshore tax evasion by tracking the details of domestic remittances, sales, profits, and money flows of overseas subsidiaries. There was a company that was more upset than us because of this, and that is Light Group. Light Group is a Japanese company founded by Jin Kyung-ho, a former Korean Japanese. Based on its success in Japan, it entered Korea in the late 1960s and is now ranked 5th in the Korean business world. The problem is that after that, while sales of Japanese light stagnated, Korean light sales exploded. Although the sales of the two corporations have already reversed and 90% of the sales are generated by REIT Korea, noise has continued to arise as Japanese REIT maintains the governance structure that dominates REIT Korea. As the public opinion worsened, Vice Chairman Dong Min-jin, who is in charge of REIT Korea, promised to list REIT Hotel and separate it from the Japanese headquarters. As I was leaving the company, the reporters who were waiting at the entrance followed me. I heard that he refused to voluntarily declare offshore assets, he said. Are you against the government's policy? Other companies are paying their taxes just fine, but do you think it is justified to have a corporation in a tax haven? What do you think of the president's statement that businesses should fulfill their social responsibilities? Are there any plans to be listed on the Korean stock market? Please say something to the people. I stopped walking and said, I do my job on my own. I do not intend to follow people who say this and that about things that are not stipulated by law. Everyone knows that OTK Company is in a tax haven. However, as the government announced that it was investigating offshore tax evasion, a new controversy arose. The development of Semangium is in progress led by OTK company, and there is a relationship between me and the US, so the Blue House and the ruling party refrained from commenting further. But the media was talking about various things. I thought while watching the news, what will my appearance be in the public eye? Successful businessman? Investors with insight? Or are you cold-blooded who only knows money? My head is cluttered with many thoughts. When she came home from work late, Ellie looked at me and said, "What's wrong?" Jinho's expression doesn't look good. "It's nothing." "No." Ellie flopped down next to me. "Come on, let's talk. I just wondered if I was doing well." Many self-made people set up a life plan from childhood and put it into practice step by step. Warren Boat did it and Masayoshi Son did it. But I just made money on an opportunity to make money, and I came here by accident. There was no particular sense of purpose and there was no sense of mission. I didn't even know that OTK company would grow like this. So much has changed in just 5 years. Self-driving electric vehicles have entered entered our daily life. Porn opened a new market by combining virtual reality and real dolls. Online games are being produced by Vermorps that more than 100 million people will enjoy. Progressive wave reactors are under construction in Russia. A new city is being built in Semangium, which used to be a wasteland. All of this was unimaginable just 5 years ago. So, what will happen in the next 5 years? Sometimes I see the future, but the future is not well drawn. And so is mine. When Ellie heard my story, she smiled. "You know what? What? Jinho is a much better person than she thinks she is." I laughed bitterly. "Ellie, isn't she looking at me like that?" Ellie asked playfully. "Can I make you feel better?" "How?" "Like this." Ellie got on her lap and hugged me in her arms and kissed me. "How is it? Are you feeling better? Isn't this a foul?" While they were kissing like crazy, Takeyu's voice came from behind. I'm just asking just in case, isn't that what you're doing right now?" "Huh. No. It's a posture that could be misunderstood when viewed from behind the sofa. I'm leaving so you can continue there." "Where are you going?" Haeyoung said that the story didn't work out and she wanted to air. He is still an otaku busy with his love business. After Takeu left, Eli said, "Let's go get some air too." "Where?" "The Han River." "Now. When you are in a bad mood, looking at the river or the sea makes you feel better." I was led by Ellie's hand and got into the car and headed to the Han River. There were quite a few people even though it was late because the weather had cleared up. As we got out of the car, people recognized right away. Isn't that person Kong Jinho?" "Wow. It's real. I think you came with your lover." "Goes well." We walked along the river with our arms crossed, not paying attention to our surroundings. It's definitely good to be outside. We stopped under the bridge and looked at the river. The lights of the bridge reflected on the river, and the light of Namsen Tower was seen from beyond. Seoul has the Han River, so it's great. Ellie likes water because she always grew up in a place with a view of the sea. I said, holding her hand tightly. "Next time we will go to Hong Kong." As the date of Hyunju's sister's wedding drew closer, the attention of global investors was focused on Korea. The government has made several arrangements to welcome investors. It even sent working-level officials down to Jeju Island to attract investment. In this context, shocking news has arrived. This is Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Sulaiman bin Salman's visit to Korea. The whole country was shocked by the news that the Crown Prince was coming. Saudi Arabia stated that the purpose of the visit was to attend the completion ceremony of the complex facility of K-Oil, an Aramco subsidiary. "Why is the prince coming? Didn't you come to meet me after Kongjin?" "Hey. Is it the meeting of the world's best investor and the oil prince? Is Crown Prince Sulaiman that great? How about compared to Mansour?" "No comparison. Right now, Aramco alone is talking about $2 trillion in market cap. Crown Prince Sulaiman is the sole shareholder and CEO. Isn't that twice as much as Jinho Kong?" $2 trillion is a Saudi brain official. In reality, it's probably somewhere between $1.5 trillion and $1.5 trillion. That's crazy, not only Aramco but also other state-owned companies. That's all king. As a monarchy you have to add the land price and the right to collect taxes. So maybe $5 trillion? I'm envious. Where are the world's largest companies? Gobble, Carlos, or OTK Company. Surprisingly, the world's largest companies are privately held and are located in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia's state-owned company Aramco. In countries such as the Netherlands, Norway and Alaska, where democracy is well developed, the money earned from oil sales through social consensus is used for investment and welfare. However, in countries with monarchies, the ruling class monopolizes oil sales. The same goes for Saudi Arabia. In the first place, the name of Saudi Arabia itself means the Arabian Kingdom of the Saud family. Therefore, the royal family takes all the oil rights. Aramco's sales last year were $355 billion and operating profit was $111 billion. Market caps range from $1 trillion to $2 trillion. One of the things that the financial industry is paying the most attention to is the listing of Aramco. Saudi Arabia plans to list a 10% stake in Aramco to raise investment funds. 10% alone is roughly $150 billion. In terms of listing size, it is truly the largest in the world. It is said that NPL and AMZ are over $1 trillion now, but their market cap at the time of listing was less than 1/100. In addition, if a company worth $10 billion is usually listed, the actual public offering rate is 20 to 50%. However, in the case of Aramco, as it is a partial listing, 100% is publicly offered. As there are no exchanges that can handle this kind of listing at once, we plan to split it up into 5 or 6 exchanges. Saudi Arabia has a close relationship with JP Morgan by default, but has continued to do business with Golden Gate as well. In particular, regarding the issue of Aramco's listing on the New York Stock Exchange, negotiations are ongoing with Golden Gate. Golden Gate is also doing its best as it can earn huge commission income if it is selected as the listing manager. You asked, "Are you such a great person?" The current king is stepping down from the political front due to his old age, so he is effectively a king. It is not a constitutional monarchy, it is a monarchy. Of course, the power the king has is enormous. Besides, Saudi Arabia is an oil-rich country everyone knows. Per capita income from oil sales exceeds $50,000. But things aren't good lately. The reason is that oil prices are falling. Saudi Arabia's economy is largely dominated by international oil prices, and the fall in oil prices has turned a red light on the nation's finances. Sulay was not the only prince to have been crowned from the beginning. Read more at wuxiax.com. The Saud dynasty is adopting a sibling inheritance system. Originally, his cousin Muhammad should be the next king, but Sulayman pushed him out and took power. After ascending to the throne, he advocated reform and eradication of corruption, and imprisoned royalty and businessmen. That number is in the thousands. No, why are there so many royals? Arab royalty can have up to 4 wives. So, will you have 1 or 2 wives and children? Even the first king had 22 wives. Are you in jail? I was locked up in a hotel. The place of detention is the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, a world-class hotel chain. That's why Riyadh's Ritz-Carlton Hotel was once called the world's most luxurious prison. Crown Prince Sulayman compelled him to consecrate as little as half and up to 70% of his property as a condition for his release. It is known that more than $200 billion of money has been recovered from the state treasury so far. At this point, the scale of the corruption of the royal family is amazing. In addition, some had to surrender their shares and management rights in the company. There were not many complaints, but since Sulayman had already seized power by the crown prince and even public opinion was on his back, Everyone kept their mouths shut. Prime Minister Ryu Jong-hoon went to the airport to meet Crown Prince Suleiman, and the Blue House held a welcome dinner followed by a summit meeting. President Ha Chong-min and Crown Prince Suleiman greeted warmly. President Ha Chong-min asked to strengthen economic cooperation with Saudi Arabia, and Crown Prince Suleiman gladly responded. In addition to the existing construction and energy sectors, they decided to strengthen cooperation in the fields of high-tech industries, IT, telecommunications, and automobiles in the future. The two leaders showed off their friendship by attending the completion ceremony of Kwil's oil refining and petrochemical complex. The fifth group also took part. In the absence of the CEO of Seosung Group, Seosung Electronics Seo Kwon Nakyeon attended and discussed future investments. Crown Prince Suleiman signed an MOU worth $10 billion with Korean companies as if he was unpacking money. The Golden Gate branch has an emergency. This is because they received a call that Crown Prince Suleiman, who had completed the summit, was visiting. At his request, he joined Henry I. Taekyu and Eli as well. After a while, the car arrived at the front door. A man in Saudi Arabia's traditional attire disembarked from the Rolls-Royce Phantom. He looks like he's in his 40s or 50s because of the beard that covered his face, but he's actually in his mid-30s. He has distinct features and a pretty good-looking face. His appearance may also play a role in his popularity with the public. The crown prince of a monarchy. When he meets such a person in person, he realizes that the world is too wide. Crown Prince Suleiman rejoiced as he held my hand. Nice to meet you, Seo Kong Jinhu. I've always wanted to meet you. Our meeting with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Suleiman bin Salman became known all over the world. The ostensible reason is to congratulate the successor of Golden Gate and the marriage of the Korean branch manager. However, as there were many issues such as Aramco listing, sovereign wealth fund investment, and construction of a progressive nuclear reactor, everyone was keen to know what was going to happen. Taekyu shook hands with Crown Prince Suleiman and said, "I only use K-oil for oil. It's a good oil." "What's that got to do with it? No matter which gas station you put it in, it must have been refined crude oil imported from Saudi Arabia anyway." Crown Prince Suleiman burst out laughing. "Ah, thank you. We look forward to seeing you in the future." Taekyu quickly added a word. "Assalamu alaikum." Crown Prince Suleiman also replied with a smile. "Assalamu alaikum." Taekyu muttered as if he was thrilled. "I've always wanted to say this once." I patted my shoulder. "Well done. When are you going to do this again? People should do what they want to do," Crown Prince Suleiman said, looking at his current lord's sister and Henry. "Congratulations on your marriage. I hope that we will continue to have a good relationship as it is. Now." "Thank you for the congratulations, Crown Prince. We all don't speak Arabic and we don't know Islamic etiquette, but there was no problem." Crown Prince Suleiman attended his high school in Switzerland and college in the United States. As such, he was fluent in English. It is said that he rather had a private tutor in his school days to learn Arabic in order to get used to it. Opponents criticize him for being an Arab only on the outside and an American on the inside. "I prepared a small present for you too," Taeyong said in a low voice. "What? Would you like to give me a free gas pass for the rest of my life? Wouldn't it be useless if it changed to an electric car anyway?" Crown Prince Suleiman gestured, and two attendants cautiously carried a large rectangular plate stacked in cloth. When Crown Prince Suleiman took off the cloth, what came out was a picture of a woman sitting on a bed and reading a book to children. Hyunju's older sister and Henry looked surprised. To me, who did not know well, Ellie explained in a low voice. "I'm Maximilian." Taekyu asked, "Is that the name of the girl in the picture?" "No. She's the one who drew it. She is a French Impressionist painter. It looks like something that came up at Sotheby's auction last year." Taeyong quickly nodded his head. "Well, that's right. I thought I saw something, but it was Maximilian's work." "Just don't talk. From what I've heard, it's not comparable to top-notch painters like Renoir, Manet, or Degas. but it is said that he is a painter well recognized by the Impressionists. Crown Prince Suleiman is also a major player in the art market. He once swept paintings from Christie's and Sotheby's auctions. His collections are now open to the public free of charge at the Royal Art Gallery in Riyadh. At the time, the painting sold for $5.6 million. It may not be a big deal for the Crown Prince, whose fortune alone is tens of billions of dollars and his royal fortune is trillions of dollars, but it is a huge amount to give as a wedding gift. But there is no free lunch in the world. A gift like this will have to be paid for in some way someday. I personally picked a picture that I thought would suit the newlyweds well. It's a bit small, but I hope you'll accept it. Having said this, it is not polite to refuse. Henry nodded and said, I will be grateful. We all drink tea together, but Crown Prince Suleiman suggested it. I would like to take a look around OTK company as well. If it's not rude, may I ask for guidance? Of course. I got out of the Golden Gate main gate with Crown Prince Suleiman and moved to the next building. While we were traveling a short distance, bodyguards surrounded us, and the reporters from inside and outside the country pressed the shutters continuously. Personally, I was very interested in OTK company and CEO Kong Jinhu. I would love to hear a lot of advice on investing. If there is anything I can do to help, I will be happy to help. We chatted affectionately and moved on. I wonder what the news will say about this appearance. In the lobby, Taekyu and the staff who moved first to avoid reporters' eyes were waiting. I introduced the staff one by one. This is Park Sang-yeep, CEO of K Company. Nice to meet you, Crown Prince. It is an honor to meet you. Crown Prince Suleiman shook hands with his staff one by one and exchanged greetings. He even took a picture with him. Sang-yeep said to me in a low voice, I never thought I would meet the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia in my lifetime. Me too. I don't think the government will be comfortable with it. Since I'm already checking Capital Power, I don't want my reputation to go up any further. Of course I don't know. After seeing the company sufficiently, I took him to the CEO's office. Crown Prince Suleiman sat down and asked me, what do you think about the future of petroleum, CEO Jinho Kong? Oil is the foundation of human civilization. In extreme terms, even if food exports are cut off, the country can survive for several months. But if the oil supply is cut off for just 1 month, the national system of countries such as Korea and Japan, which cannot be self-sufficient in energy, will be paralyzed. There was a time when this oil supply was controlled by several countries. They openly controlled supply and sales, which shocked the world through 2 oil shocks. But that's all a thing of the past. The United States has been reborn as the world's largest oil importer and exporter by extracting oil and gas from shale formations. Now, the monopoly supply has changed from a monopoly supply to a multilateral supply, and the market has changed from a monopoly market to a normal market. In addition, the expansion of electric vehicles has greatly reduced the value of oil as a fuel. As petroleum is used not only as a fuel but also as a raw material for various chemical products, the demand for petroleum will not disappear. But apart from that, I said frankly, decreased demand and falling prices are an unavoidable reality. Crown Prince Suleiman nodded his head. Saudi Arabia has been dependent on oil for too much of its economy. Technology continues to advance, but oil diminishes as it is pumped. It will be difficult right now, but I think we need to gradually change that structure. Another problem with resource-dependent economies is that their structures are unlikely to last forever. Saudi Arabia has abundant oil reserves and is believed to be capable of mining over the next 100 years. However, as time goes by, the mining difficulty will increase, which will lead to an increase in cost. And that will reduce your income. Crown Prince Suleiman smiled faintly. When I was young, the image that came to mind when I was in Korea was construction. Korean workers built numerous buildings in Middle Eastern countries under the scorching sun. But now, decades later, Korea's top exports have become semiconductors and batteries. However, as in the past and now, our country's top export product is oil. This situation cannot continue even after hundreds of years. I think this is the last opportunity given to Saudi Arabia, as oil exports are still being maintained. If this opportunity is missed, Saudi Arabia may be on the same path as Venezuela. Venezuela, once an oil-rich country in South America, collapsed with falling oil prices. This has also sounded alarms in other countries. After Crown Prince Salman came to power, he declared that he would break out of the oil-dependent economy and is sparingly investing in advanced technology and finance. Aramco's listing is also to raise funds for investment. These include electric vehicles, batteries and TWRs. It is also participating in the TWR project led by Rosatom, and plans to build 2 nuclear power plants with an investment of $2 billion. But money alone does not lead to reform. In order to change the economic structure, the social system must also be changed accordingly. So he hastened major social reforms such as expanding women's driving and suffrage. But reforms come with pain. Islamic fundamentalists and conservatives strongly opposed Crown Prince Salman, saying he was trying to undermine the foundation of the country and divide Islam. I understand that relations with the Korean government have been difficult recently. I accepted it moderately. Is that so? There are good times and there are bad times. Perhaps it was an excuse to attend the completion ceremony of the K-Whale complex or to celebrate the wedding. Did you really come to see me? Crown Prince Suleiman said bluntly. Are you not planning to come to Saudi Arabia? At those words Taekyu showed great interest. There's only one reason why he's so interested. That's right. Taekyu asked softly. Can Saudi Arabia really have up to 4 wives? Don't ask me that. Crown Prince Salman smiled and nodded his head. Of course. Only 4 wives must be treated fairly and without favoritism. Favoritism creates discord among wives. That's right. What is this kid seriously thinking about? As Saudi Arabia is a rich country in the Middle East, it is not easy to acquire citizenship. However, due to the nature of the monarchy, a single word from the crown prince will solve everything. Saudi Arabia needs people with a vision for the future. Is that what we are? As crown prince, I promise to give you the best treatment. A great king can change a country. So what can a great investor do? Saudi Arabia is operating a sovereign wealth fund using oil sales proceeds like the Netherlands' Sovereign Wealth Fund and Norway's Sovereign Wealth Fund. Also, it is investing a large amount in the Insight Fund managed by Softbox chairman Masayoshi Son. As the biggest principle of sovereign wealth funds operated by oil-rich countries is to invest in assets that have little to do with oil prices. Investment targets are mainly high-tech industries and financial companies such as IT, automobiles, batteries, semiconductors and services. The larger the investment, the greater the difference in absolute amount even with a 0.1% return. Moreover, in the case of sovereign wealth funds, they operate for 1 or 2 years and do not buy back, but manage them for at least several decades. Even the slightest difference in returns over time can multiply by several tens of % or more due to compounding. What if I go to Saudi Arabia? You will probably be treated like royalty. If he officially becomes king, wouldn't he be able to enjoy the glory of wealth together? But that's when it all goes well. If the president attacks me with laws and systems in Korea, Saudi Arabia can do the same thing according to the king's heart. Wouldn't it be possible to detain him in the rich cult hotel and then force him to give up his property and shares, as he did to other royals and businessmen? Thanks for the suggestion. But I have no intention of leaving Korea yet. He nodded as if he had expected such an answer. Hey. I am satisfied that I have learned a lot just by meeting and talking like this today. So do I. Crown Prince Salman stood up and took my hand. I think it was worthwhile to come to Korea. Please come to Saudi Arabia in the future. We will always leave the door open. Jin Hu Kong, exclusive conversation with Crown Prince Salman bin Salman. What happened? Request Kong Jin Hu to visit Saudi Arabia. Prince Suleiman expressed great interest in OTK company's investment. K-Oil to build additional petrochemical facilities in Simanjam? The media published several speculative articles along with photos of Kang Jin-ho and Crown Prince Suleiman talking while walking. Crown Prince Suleiman told reporters. The conversation with CEO Kang Jin-ho was very helpful. Saudi Arabia will continue to pursue economic cooperation with Korea. When he showed a very favorable attitude toward Kang Jin-ho, the internet heated up. He said he asked to come to Saudi Arabia. Do you want me to do something like Saudi investment minister? Hey, if you change your nationality to Saudi Arabia after the earthquake, it will be fun. So what will happen to the Korean government? There are princesses out there, aren't you going to marry one of them and become royalty? What are you talking about? Jin-ho Kang has a girlfriend. There can be up to 4 wives. I'm tired TT, I want to naturalize in Saudi Arabia. Haha, if you have a head, think about it. Unless the male-to-female ratio is 1:4, when someone marries 4 wives, the 3 of them will be single for the rest of their lives. You are one of the 3 playing at home and commenting on the internet. Including you. It seems that only Korea can treat investors of the century like this. Since the time of Park Si-hyung, it is a tradition that only Korean politicians know funny after Kang Jin-ho. Oil money was also great. During the 4 days of Crown Prince Suleiman's visit to Korea, domestic and foreign media reported every move. In the midst of this, some giraffes posted articles saying that I could naturalize or immigrate to Saudi Arabia. The Blue House and the ruling party did not mention it separately, but there were signs of embarrassment. Legislative discussions on earthquake reporting and punishment for offshore assets suddenly entered the scene. After all, is there anything wrong with being friendly with a foreign leader? Thinking so, at some point Taekyu was holding a Saudi Arabia travel brochure and a book called Arabic First Steps. Sooner or later he wraps a top around his body and puts a capiroto on his head. I screamed. Stop it, you idiot. What Saudi Arabia? I want to go on a trip later. Why are you going there? The Crown Prince is coming to play. If you go, won't you be treated as a state guest? Do you think I don't know your dirty intentions? I said to Taekyu, who had an innocent expression on his face. It's terribly hot there. You don't like the heat. Okay. You can turn on the air conditioner. That's it. Since it is oily soup, it is played generously in public facilities and shopping malls. You can't access Lost Fantasy there. Team was surprised. What? Why? I think it's a violation of public morals. Lost Fantasy is a fantasy set in medieval Europe. Religion comes out and the profession of a paladin comes out. Of course that religion is not Islam. Then what about porn? Of course facade is also banned. If I get caught, wouldn't it be right after I stretched out on my stomach? In fact, Saudi Arabia still enforces flogging. In terms of GDP alone, Saudi Arabia should have risen to the ranks of advanced countries sooner. However, unlike the economic power that has grown with oil money, politics, society, culture, and the media are inferior to those of underdeveloped countries. In particular, the rule system based on absolute monarchy and Islam produced side effects such as discrimination against women, oppression of the press, and state control. The reason developed countries emphasize women's rights, freedom of the press, and religious freedom is that they are universal values, but that doing so helps economic growth. How can the economy be developed when women, who make up half of the population, are not fully utilized in the first place? There would have been no problems when the money earned from oil exports was distributed to the people, but overall society must be reformed to boost domestic demand, develop technology, and foster manufacturing. The reform measures implemented immediately include women's participation in politics, expansion of women's suffrage, watching women's sports, and allowing women to drive. Even if they are just doing this, the clergy are foaming at their mouths and opposing them for religious reasons. Crown Prince Suleiman will also have a headache. Taekyu gently put the book in his hand. Saudi is going to play next time. I was contacted by Professor Haman Kim. After we met, he was confined to the research lab and was only doing research. If there is no progress at all, he may not know, and the results seem to be in sight, making him even more frustrated. It is not easy to find a material that can replace germanium. I am buying germanium in the raw material market just in case. However, since the trading volume was so small, the price fluctuated quickly even after placing orders in small batches. In fact, it should be considered impossible to purchase in bulk. Don't push yourself too hard. Did you see the battery released by BID this time? Chinese companies are already catching up fast. There is no technology in this world that can be monopolized alone. The fact that Professor Homan Kim has created an OTK battery means that other people can make it as much as they want. The emergence of new products provides a development direction to latecomers and reduces trial and error. If a patent makes it impossible to copy it as is, a way to circumvent the patent may be sought. In fact, since the release of OTK batteries, the capacity of existing NCM batteries has increased by more than 30%. Chinese and Japanese companies took advantage of the decline in cobalt prices to further expand their investments. BID released an electric vehicle equipped with a new battery and claimed to have increased the driving range to 800 kilometers, and declared that it would surpass OTK batteries within the next year. The possibility is not great, but it is not negligible either. The growth of Chinese companies is frightening as they are even backed by the state's support. Not one or two companies are rushing to develop next-generation batteries for OTK batteries. If you stay still, someday you will catch up. We are also in the same position to prepare after the OTK battery. Research shows that demand for high-capacity batteries is overwhelming across industries. Of course, what I thought was good was already being done by other people. When I first thought of an electric airplane powered by batteries and motors, I had a question. Is this possible? Was doing the biggest stumbling block is the battery. Capacity, price, and charging time are all issues. Nevertheless, the companies did not slow down the development speed. Conversely, as long as battery technology develops, it is possible to secure greater economic efficiency than conventional airplanes. Like electric vehicles, electric planes are advantageous in all aspects such as fuel cost reduction, eco-friendliness, and noise. As there are still technical limitations to be applied to large passenger aircraft, the development of light aircraft with less than 10 passengers and manned drones is in progress. In order to overcome the immediate technical limitations, there are hybrid airplanes that use both an electric motor and an engine like a hybrid car. And some places have recognized the limitations of secondary batteries and have turned to installing hydrogen fuel cells. In the past, investment and development were gradual and phased, but recently they have been progressing simultaneously. After a high-capacity battery is first released, it is not investing in the development of airplanes, but rather pouring money in advance for manned drones and airplane technology, believing that battery technology will develop further in the future. Now is the time for a paradigm shift in the industry. As you can see from companies such as NPL, Gobel, and FaceNote, the first successful companies enjoy a monopoly position. On the other hand, once you're behind, it's hard to take the lead again. So both of you are jumping in with all your might. This is why Song Masayoshi created the Insight Fund and invested in it. And Crown Prince Suleiman is trying to secure investment through Aramco listing by stealing the pockets of the royal family. At some point, just as smartphones have become part of our daily lives, if you come to your senses, you may see drones carrying people moving between cities and electric planes moving between countries. It will be useless to regret later after that time has come. Our future may depend on this battery. I returned what Professor Homan Kim had said the other day. Batteries are the semiconductors of the future. I know it well. Everyone knows that, so they are investing hard in developing technology. Are you still coming to the wedding? Then let's go. See you then. Private planes arrived one after another at Jeju International Airport. It is rare for financiers and investors to come together like this. So, a week before the wedding, meetings were held, seminars were held, and there was talk about investment. The runway was to the point of causing a traffic jam due to the private planes that landed and moved to the hangar. It is the first time that so many private planes have flown at once since the opening of the airport. Besides, each of the people on it are giants who can be recognized just by hearing their name. Airport staff paid attention to the arrival service. Hearing that Hollywood stars were coming to attend the wedding, fans from Seoul and Busan as well as Japan and China flocked to Jeju Airport, and Jeju Airport decided to deny entry to the airport at all except for those leaving the country. The Ceylon Hotel as well as the Jeju provincial government made every effort to prepare. All employees returned their leave and went into emergency work posture. Even a small accident could not tolerate even the slightest mistake, as it would cause a fatal blow to the image of Jeju Island. We arrived in Jeju Island. We used regular aircraft for Jeju Airport, which suffers from a large number of private planes. The CEO I met at the Ceylon Hotel, Sumi Lim, seemed to be exhausted. Group work, Simangium investment and even this wedding. Looking at her schedule so far, it's surprising that she hasn't collapsed. Taejayu said, "You are suffering because of my sister." President Lim Sumi shook her head at her smile. "No. Thank you very much for giving our hotel such a great opportunity." She has ambitions to develop Ceylon Hotel into a global hotel chain. Following the development of Simangium, this time was also a good opportunity. If you can instill a good image for investors who attended the wedding, it will be of great help in future overseas expansion. I asked Hyunju Nuna, "How are you feeling?" The older sister, who came first and finished the wedding rehearsal, shook her head and said, "I didn't know that a wedding would be so difficult. I just want to finish it quickly and go home." Ellie said firmly, "What do you mean? After all, we have to play in Jeju Island until the weekend. Is this just the desire to play?" And finally, the day of the wedding came bright. Luxury cars lined up to enter the hotel, and a police force was deployed around it for security. As coverage was not permitted, the hotel thoroughly blocked the access of the media and outsiders. Nevertheless, there were a lot of reporters from inside and outside the country at the entrance. Taekyu has been wearing a suit for a long time. He wears only sweaters that have been stretched out every day, but when he wears a suit that fits him well, he looks different. Before he looked just like an otaku, now he looks like a successful otaku. Taekyu stuck his tongue out. "My sister's wedding is going to be this big." Taekyu's parents were also nervous about the scale beyond imagination. The two of them trembled slightly as they held each other's hands tightly. He must have never imagined that his daughter would be the protagonist of the wedding of the century. Henry's parents are surprisingly ordinary. After all, his father had no affiliation with Golden Gate business, and he is now a professor as an ordinary professor. However, as you can see from Henry, both of them are tall and have excellent looks. Both parents greeted each other and prepared to welcome guests. While Ellie and her older sister Hyunju were in the bride's waiting room, I and Taekyu also welcomed guests at the entrance of the wedding hall. The marriage between the successor of Golden Gate, the world's largest IB, and the third largest shareholder of OTK Company. As it was the wedding of the century, global attention poured in. The people who gather at the wedding hall are celebrities who can be recognized just by hearing their names, or are key figures in the financial world who can move tens of billions of dollars with a single word. South Korea's opposition parliamentarians and provincial governors have secretly informed them of their intention to attend. I don't have any personal acquaintances. I don't do business with Golden Gate, so I don't know why I'm coming to someone else's wedding. Taejayu said, "Would you like to have a course meal?" "No. You want to shake hands with celebrities and take pictures. Wouldn't it be nice to post a picture on the face note and then publicize the voters that they worked hard to attract investment?" I turned it down because I couldn't find a seat because it was obvious. In fact, there were not enough seats, so the people who were invited now also picked and selected them. Then, even though they clearly said no, they sent wreaths from various places. President Lim Sumi placed the wreaths well out of sight. Professor Ho Min Kim came along with Professor Myung-Jun Kim and Professor Se-myung Jang, as well as Professor Hyunju's sister's college days. I told Professor Ho Min Kim, "Take it easy. Would you like to win another Nobel Prize? Give it, you should get it. Even the money that comes in from OTK battery royalties is money that can't be used for the rest of your life. Nevertheless, the reason I'm working hard on research like this is not because of money or fame, but because of my greed as a researcher. It is natural for investors to rush when an opportunity to make money arises, and researchers to rush when they see results. Professor Mohan and Carrie are in school right now, so Professor Petrov was unable to come because he was at the TWR construction site in Kaliningrad, and instead sent congratulations. The CEOs of Carlos, Faceit, M-Pizza and OTK Games were also busy, so they deliberately did not invite them, and decided to contact them separately later. Ambassadors from different countries also attended. Princess Annika came with the Norwegian ambassador, and Hannah Young accompanied CL Chem's president Yang Ho-young and his wife and CL Group chairman Yang Junimo. And Min Ha-young came alone late. He is cute in his small stature and wearing big glasses. She also dresses modestly. It was such a luxurious wedding and there were far more foreigners than Koreans. Min Ha-young looked around her with a withdrawn expression. "Hey, can I really come here? What can't be done? Eat well and congratulate my sister." Hannah-san and Annika were placed at the same table. Isn't that guy a movie star? Right. David Bishop. Hollywood top star David Bishop was with his lover Sasha Alexandrova. Min Ha-young shook her head. "Great. I'm a fan, I've seen all David's movies." Taejayu said. "Would you like to greet me? Is that okay? If not at this place, when will we meet separately?" After Taekyu went and said a few words, David Bishop, who was talking with other people, came over to us. Min Ha-young bowed her head in surprise. "Good morning. I am a fan. It's in Korean, but it seems like you understand it." Min Ha-young took out her cell phone. "Blood picture, please." David Bishop was happy to take a picture with her and she liked it. Her mother, Taekyu, went to the bride's waiting room with her mother. Sumi-san is so busy that it's hard to talk to her. Sumi Lim, the president of the company, is giving instructions around the site so that there are no mistakes in her customer service. "By the way, when are you going to do it?" "What?" My mother spoke in a low voice so that others could not hear. "You should get married soon. How long are you going to keep Ellie waiting?" I nodded. "Do not worry. I will do it soon." "Really? I've thought of everything." After her wedding, she plans to go to Hong Kong, her hometown of Ellie, to propose with a view of the sea. Of course she doesn't know Ellie yet. My mother was taken aback by my words. "Think of it, son. The governor of New York and the mayor of New York came together. New York, as we all know, has Wall Street, the center of global finance. Governor Copper told me jokingly, shouldn't the OTK company also be moving to Wall Street soon? I also took it as a joke. The rent there is too expensive. Let's raise some more money. Haha, if you come, I'll add it even if it's taken from my paycheck." Group members in their tens also came. In the Susong Group, head of the company Kwon Young-cheol and Seosong SB president Lee Soo-hak came to take the place of the absence of the head of the group. And in the Unsung Car Group, where the Unsung Car had fallen, Yunsung RT president Kim Hwan-jin attended. Yuri brought her father, Vice Chairman Shin Byung-do and Chairman Ryu Cheol-jung, along with her. Both of them had already been to Jeju Island 3 days ago and met with officials from the Sovereign Wealth Fund. The return of a private equity fund is directly related to the size of the fund. RCK Brothers plans to establish a regional fund to invest in Asia, such as China and Japan, in the near future. It is difficult to list all successful mergers and acquisitions so far, so everyone showed interest. "Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting us." Then an old gentleman wearing a hat and holding a staff appeared. Even in England around the end of the 19th century, it would not be strange to have a wonderful and profound appearance. Golden Gate CEO James C. Goldman. He had just been in the room for a meeting with others and came down after it was over. Next to him was an elderly couple. He is now retired as the former head of Asia at Chase Southwell. To his older sister Hyunju, it is nothing less than a gift. We met after a long time and greeted each other warmly. In addition, many celebrities have come. In the past, when I first met these people, I was nervous, but now I feel comfortable as if I was just meeting someone I knew. Is it because I grew up in the meantime? I was okay from the beginning. You were also nervous when you met Shigeru Ichikawa. Well, Shigeru Ong is a legend. I am still writing a new legend. Everyone has someone they respect. Thinking like that, for a moment people's attention was focused. Warren Boat, president of Berkshire Cashier, appeared with an old man of the same age. 5. Hyo Kong-jin Hu. President Warren Boat took my hand and waved it warmly. You have worked hard to come a long way. Haha, it's been a while. This guy next to me is Charlie Bain. I've met Bot on a few occasions and I do communicate occasionally, but this is the first time I've met Charlie Bain. Chairman Boat and Vice Chairman Bain do not leave Edens, where Berkshire Cashier's headquarters is located, and do not appear at outside events. Since both of them are in their late 80s, it's not easy to make a long-distance flight here. As such, it is a great thing to have come all the way to Korea to attend a wedding. It is an honor to meet you. This is Jin-Hu Kong. Nice to meet you, Seo Kong Jin-Hu. I have always wanted to meet you, but today is that day. No. I should have found you sooner. He is not well known in Korea, but he is also a famous investor as much as Warren Boat. From the point of view of direct investment, you can see how great these two are. If you're lucky, it might be possible to make a few 100% profit at some point, but it's hard for anyone to make a steady 20% return for decades. I was naturally admired for having built the world's best investment company without any ability like foresight. We headed to the bride's waiting room. Hyunju's older sister, who wore contact lenses instead of glasses, wore bridal makeup and wore a pure white wedding dress, exuded a completely different charm than usual. Hyun was amazed. Wow. My sister is really pretty today. Hyunju Nuna made a slight impression. Are you kidding me? I'm serious. I nodded. I think so. The atmosphere was calm and elegant rather than flashy. She took a deep breath as if trying to calm her heart. I thought it would be okay, but somehow I'm trembling. I told my sister. Looking earlier, Henry was also trembling. Perhaps now is the most important moment in her life. Marrying someone would be like that. Hyunju Nuna looked at us with warm eyes. Thank you, everyone. Thanks to this, I met Henry, gave birth to Gunai, and got married like this. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know if there was such happiness, and I might have been working alone even now. Especially take you. Huh. I was worried that I didn't study Hara and only played games and watched anime, but I've grown up to be so wonderful. Thank you so much. No, what? Taekyu was embarrassed by his sister's compliment, so he looked elsewhere for no reason. Water dripped down the black horn-rimmed glasses. Are you crying? Taekyu shook his head at my question. Don't cry. It seems like everyone is crying. Wow. Do you know how I feel about letting my sister marry me? Anyone who sees it would think that he is a father sending his daughter in marriage. By the way, Taekyu's father, who is sending his daughter in marriage, is smiling. Without saying a word, I tapped Taekyu's shoulder. There is nothing that is not of the highest quality, from wedding decorations to props and meals. Among them, what President Sumi Lim paid particular attention to was the meal. For this, she says, she has personally selected and ordered expensive ingredients from around the world since a month ago. Indeed, it is a luxurious wedding that cannot be compared with the world's richest or Hollywood stars. Taekyu was satisfied and nodded his head. Great. If it's my sister's wedding, it should be like this. He is a good little brother who always thinks of his older sister. Throughout the wedding, 4 cameras filmed every scene without missing a single scene. Again, the best filming team was recruited, and cameras that could almost be used for filming were mobilized. Throughout the wedding ceremony, Jenai was standing next to the two of them. Having a wedding with a child may not be known in a foreign country, but it is not common in Korea. Later, when you grow up and watch your parents' wedding video, you'll be surprised that he was there. The two held hands and kissed, and the guests clapped in unison. Taekyu was crying again, and Ellie was also in tears. Read more at wuxiax.com. I'm glad that both of you are happy. Meeting the person you love and spending the rest of your life together is such a great thing. I grabbed Ellie's hand and she smiled. I ran out of the building to avoid people. When I said hello and shook hands, my throat was sore and my hands were tingling. In fact, his right hand was swollen and red. If you go back inside, they will talk to you without a break. I took a breather for a while and then someone approached me. Blonde hair that fell to her waist and blue eyes. She wore a green chiffon dress with heels and lace gloves on her hands. Her face is pretty like a doll and her skin is pure white. It is an appearance that attracts attention just by being there, even though it is not decorated glamorously. When did you come? I guess I didn't see you until the wedding started, she said with her blue eyes shining. Nice to meet you, Kang Jin-hoo. It's been a long time since we were. A British accent goes well with her clear voice. What's going on here? As I was invited. Our family has a long history of dealing with Golden Gate. If you think about it, it's normal. How many places in the financial world don't do business with Rothschilds, given the size of their investments and the banks they own? I saw my opponent. The first time I met her was at JP Morgan's headquarters on Wall Street. And she met again in Oslo, Norway. Is this the third time? I was waiting for a call. Have you lost the business card I gave you? I looked at her and asked. She doesn't really need to contact me, she said. Okay. I have a lot of things I want to say to you. What are you talking about? She pondered as she tilted her head slightly to the side. What about our future? What is this all of a sudden? I answered as before. I have a lover. She smiled faintly. I know. She is the woman who received the bouquet earlier. She took one step closer to me. How much does she know about you? What else does this mean? I said absurdly. At least I know more than you. Grace Rothschild laughed out loud at my words. You really think so? So, do you know about that ability you have? Her words were completely unexpected. I took control of my expression, but it must have been revealed that I was already shaking in my eyes. She looks like she didn't even tell her. After all, it's not easy to tell someone. What do you mean? Grace Rothschild's eyes lit up with interest. The man who had nothing became the richest man in the world in 5 years. If it wasn't for him, how would he be able to do it? How? You don't have to hide it. I've known for a long time that you have that ability. What do you know about me? You deserve a higher rank than you are now. From the first meeting with her, I felt a strong sense of incongruity or alienation towards her. And only today did I seem to understand why. Her gaze and expression seemed to be looking down at the world. It was as if I was living in a completely different world. Come to Buckinghamshire. I'll tell you what you want to know. Buckinghamshire is home to the Rothschild family. She bowed gracefully towards me. I will be waiting. So until then you'll be fine. Grace Rothschild turned her body and walked away. After she was completely gone, her surroundings became quiet. She felt as if nothing had just happened to her. As I stood there for a moment, someone tapped my shoulder. What are you doing here? You found it. She turned her head to see her Ellie standing there. Oh, I was resting for a while. Ellie stared at me. What's wrong? Yes. You look like you're possessed by something. Yeah, right. I smiled awkwardly and Ellie hugged me. I had a lot of trouble preparing for the wedding. I have a good rest today. It felt soft to the touch and warm. He seemed somehow reassured. I gave her strength to hold her in her hand. I see. The guests are all busy people. When the wedding was over, the people who had business left and those who did business here remained. We decided to stay in Jeju Island until the weekend and then go up. I dragged Take You into the hotel room and locked the door. What's up? When I told him about what had happened before, Take You was surprised. What? Really? Somehow, when I saw the woman standing behind the ceremonial hall earlier, I thought she was that woman, but I guess she was right. But why did Rothschild come to my sister's wedding? I must have come because I was invited. She sent her invitation from Golden Gate to Rothschild, where she would represent her family. Anyway, that's not what's important right now. Are you aware of your abilities? Huh. Take You crossed her arms and pondered. Didn't it just float? I don't think so. When he looked at his eyes or expression when he spoke, he knew something. You are not the only one who says you have foresight. Isn't that almost a recognized fact? As I said, the media have been talking about me for a long time as a prophet or a prophet. Especially after Big One, it got worse. As always, humans want to know the future. In the past, shamans used to divide animals into fortune-telling, but now scientists, economists, and other experts are playing that role. Just as investment and speculation are separate sheets of paper, so is prediction and foresight. In the financial world, where information is directly connected to money, forecasting is more important than any other field. Whether interest rates will rise or fall, whether the economy will rise or fall, whether new technologies will succeed or fail, etc. There are people in the world who have accurately hit the financial crisis. New York University professor Nouriel Roubini, Black Swan author Nassim Taleb, Science Capital founder Michael Berry, and more. There was no special information, only they knew. I just analyzed the indicators that anyone could see if they made up their mind. Looking at the same indicators, some people noticed signs of a bubble burst, but most said they were fine. The same was true of financial experts, Nanda, and officials of the U.S. Treasury Department. And the global financial crisis broke out. After that, everyone changed their minds, saying that before the collapse, various indicators were already pointing to the collapse of the bubble. Talking plausibly after work is something anyone can do. Then why did some people know and who didn't see the same data? The reason the financial market is difficult to predict is because there are so many variables at work. Just as the flapping of a butterfly's wings in Brazil can cause tornadoes in the United States, so little variables can change everything. Finding the truth in it isn't just about being smart. We need something beyond that. To others it is intuition, but to me it is a superpower. One day this superpower was born and gave me wealth and fame. He made astronomical amounts of money in a short period of time, beating Warren Buffett and many other famous investors to become the greatest investor of the 21st century. Say she knows your abilities. Doesn't it change anything though? It is. Unless it's a superpower that uses physical power, there's no way I can prove it and there's no way others can prove it. But if what she really knows is correct, one question arises. How the hell did you find out? Of course, some people think I have intuition, but no one thinks I have superpowers. At this point, I am also interested. Rothschild is a regular protagonist of conspiracy theories. Surprisingly, however, it is a family that exists today and exerts enormous influence on the financial world. Just as the Kennedy, Bush, and Underwood families are famous in the political world, there are also famous families with a deep history in the financial world. The Morgan family who created J.P. Morgan and Morgan Stanley, the Goldman family who created Golden Gate, etc. The most famous of these is, of course, the Rothschilds. Even if you have no interest in finance, you probably won't know the name of the Rothschild. If you are in the financial world, you will surely hear the name somewhere. But how many people know about it? After learning about the Rothschilds, I was surprised by two things. One is that too much is known, and the other is that little is known about the things that really matter. Even what the media says is only superficial information that has not been verified as authentic. Exaggerated conspiracy theories made it more difficult to find the reality. Rothschild. I met Chairman Warren Buffett with Take You. Fortunately, he was due to leave tomorrow. Berkshire Cashier still holds tens of billions of dollars in cash and is struggling to find a suitable investment. It is also investing in California restoration projects, and has shown interest in theme parks and complex resorts built by the Ceylon Hotel in Seamangium. After her wedding, President Lim Sumi cannot rest and is meeting with IBPF and SWF officials. I asked him, "Do you know anything about the Rothschilds?" President Warren Boat nodded in surprise. "If you are involved in the financial world, wouldn't you be unaware of it? Why are you asking that all of a sudden?" "I met that person before." He showed interest. "Hey, what did you say? You seem to be interested in me." He burst out laughing at my words. "Haha, not just the Rothschilds but any family, right? The Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the Coengs, everyone is showing interest in Mr. Kong. Because of the money I have? The Berkshire cashier is currently a little under $600 billion. However, you are not free to decide how the money will be used. You have to keep an eye on the shareholders, and there are a lot of things to be concerned about. This is also true of Canline Group and Redstone. But Mr. Kong is free to choose. If someone else had done the same thing to stop Big One, they would have been kicked out of the company right away. 80% of OTK Company's assets are mine. On the other hand, the hundreds of billions of dollars of operating funds held by IBs and PFs are money invested by someone. So whose money is it? As for the Rothschilds, Charlie probably knows better than I do." He called Vice President Charlie Bain. After a while, Vice President Bain entered the room after the meeting was over. He was wearing horn-rimmed glasses with a plump, round face. He looked like a brother to President Warren Boat next to him. "If we run a company together for a long time and make investments, will we start to resemble each other?" Upon hearing my story, Vice President Bain's eyes lit up like a child. It seems that Rothschild has reached out to the CEO as well. They traditionally value talent. We put a lot of effort into that. What is the size of Rothschild's assets? No one knows for sure. I'm just estimating that it's probably more than $1 trillion and less than $2 trillion. Even this is not certain. Henry said the same thing. Again, it fell far short of the $50 trillion that conspiracy theories are talking about. After all, if you have $50 trillion in assets, no matter how much you diversify it, it won't go unnoticed. It is still an unimaginable amount, but it is impossible to dominate the entire financial world to this extent. But the power of the Rothschilds doesn't just come from the assets they own. Of course. The connections and influence they have in the political and financial circles of the United States and Europe. Maybe you can say something like this. It is the force that can move capital in one direction. I pondered those words. Vice President Bain continued. Just as water flows from a high place to a low place, money has the property of moving toward a place of high profit. If you can control that flow, you can do a lot. George Soros, didn't he show it to you once? When George Soros, the head of the Quantum Fund, said he was attacking the Bank of England, everyone laughed. No matter how brilliant a hedge fund manager he was, he rushed to the central bank of the British Empire because it seemed like an egg. But he wasn't alone. When he launched his attack, a number of hedge funds sided with him and moved in one direction. A drop of water is nothing, but when it is collected, it becomes a river and a sea. And moving in one direction at a time can cause a tsunami. The Bank of England, which was caught up in it, collapsed helplessly. The Rothschilds have maintained their wealth and influence for 250 years. You know how great this is. Right. 100 years is longer than you think. The period of 250 years spans from modern times to modern times and to the present moment. Just listing what happened in Europe in the meantime is the equivalent of dozens of books. Small things aside, the world went through 2 world wars, the Great Depression and the financial crisis. Every time a crisis broke out, many companies and families collapsed and collapsed. But Rothschilds are still Rothschilds. How was this possible? Vice President Bain said with a bitter smile. When you think about it, it's really strange. The Rothschilds have been subjected to numerous attacks as they have long dominated Europe's financial system. There have been times when the family was split or nearly destroyed. But I managed to avoid the crisis as if I had foreseen it, and in the process I gained greater wealth. As soon as I heard those words, something popped into my mind. Take you and I looked at each other with a surprised expression. Surely, an ordinary Jewish family, the Rothschilds began to grow rapidly in the 18th century, when they gained the trust of King Wilhelm of Prussia. But at the time, Europe was in a turbulent period. In the war with Napoleon, Prussia was defeated and the Rothschilds also suffered a crisis. Sighed by the return of King Wilhelm, the Rothschilds sent their sons across Europe to organize an international financial network. After that, the crisis continued. The family was divided into several by descendants and World War II broke out. The Great Depression that occurred in 1929 was the worst economic crisis ever experienced by mankind. Numerous individuals and companies went bankrupt. After World War II broke out, the whole of Europe was engulfed in phone calls. Jews in Nazi-occupied territories were deprived of their property and massacred in concentration camps. But Jewish families moved to England and the United States survived and rose to power. There was no war that shook the world after that, but there were still numerous crises in the financial world. Two whale shocks, the dot-com bubble, the global financial crisis, etc. In every crisis, someone fell and new wealthy people were born. But the Rothschilds were still Rothschilds. There is no family in the financial world with a history as long as the Rothschilds and as influential as the Rothschilds. Despite the downfall of many families, the Rothschilds, based in England, prospered in every crisis. And he entered the United States at the right time and established himself on Wall Street. Even with the exception of those who have fallen, there are still several Rothschild families left. Even today, the name of Rothschild can be easily found among European entrepreneurs and financiers. But the great house everyone thinks is in England. The current head of the Rothschild family is Grant Darrell Rothschild. He became the head of the family in the 1970s. Grace Rothschild is his great-granddaughter. Have you ever met him? At my words, Vice President Bain smiled and shook his head. He doesn't come out of the mansion. He does everything inside. Even within the family, there are very few people who have seen his face in person unless he is a close aide. In fact, little was known other than the name. It is not even clear when he was born. I'm guessing it's around 80 to 90 years old. Well, secrecy is nothing more than a Rothschild tradition. After the conversation, I thanked President Warren Boat and Vice President Charlie Bain. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for clearing up some of my questions. I'm glad you did. Vice President Bain took my hand and said, "It was a pleasant conversation for me too." After letting the two of us go, I came back and only Taiku remained. Every crisis has a reason for its occurrence. After the crisis is over, I can give you 100 reasons why it should have happened. But how many people can accurately predict the size and timing of a crisis before it occurs? The Rothschilds, lucky, averted countless crises. Was it because I was really lucky? Or is there some other reason? Taijayu said. So you mean there could be someone with foresight like you in the Rothschilds? I think there is a possibility. It is said that highly advanced science is no different from magic. So, does highly developed intuition become foresight? There is no law in the world that says that only I have this ability. Come to think of it, this is not the first time this has happened. Professor Mohan's grandmother also accurately predicted Big One. For economists and investors, it is their job to predict the future. They actually fit well and sometimes they make a lot of money. After World War I, the Allies signed the Treaty of Versailles, which paid heavy reparations to the defeated Germany. British economist John Maynard Keynes, who was a party to the treaty at the time, prophesied, "If you deliberately try to impoverish Central Europe, your revenge will be quick and easy." And that word became a reality exactly 20 years later. Even in such cases, they usually think that they have excellent intuition but do not think about foresight. This is because it is common sense to think that such a thing as foresight cannot exist in reality. But what if you knew it existed? Of course, foresight comes first. So, how much does the Rothschild know about this ability? It's just a home, it's just my opinion. If you want to know the truth, there's only one way. I remembered the words of Grace Rothschild. He said he would tell you what he wanted to know when he came to Buckinghamshire, right? I want to go to England. Are you going to come? What if I kidnapped you there? You can't do that unless you're crazy. Yeji is not something that comes to mind by forcibly squeezing it out. Inviting someone means taking responsibility for their safety and safety. Considering the money and fame I have, I wouldn't do any harm. Something happens to me, America will not stand still. Taeyong nodded his head. Well, I guess I need to go there to uncover the reality of the conspiracy theories. Go and dig it out thoroughly. Dawn before sunrise. I went out for a walk with Ellie. The reason I woke up at this time was to see the sunrise. It was early and it was not a sunrise spot, so there were few people. We walked along the path that was still dark. The seawater crashed against the rocks, creating white foam. Ellie opened her arms and stretched her out. Jeju Island is also nice. It's a face I see every day, but no matter how I look at it, it's pretty. Most of all, her cool smile is attractive. I think she would have been a good fit if she shot another commercial. When she left her former lover and went to the military, she never thought that she would meet such a lover. What will Ellie think if she finds out that I've come this far thanks to her foresight? I'm sorry, can she delay her decision to go to Hong Kong? At my words, Ellie stopped walking. Why? Ellie was excited about going to Hong Kong to see the schools and restaurants she attended. I was thinking of proposing to see the night view of Victoria Harbour. However, if you suddenly say you will cancel, you will not be disappointed. I think I should go to England. You want to go to England, not Hong Kong? Ellie spent her college years in England. I smiled awkwardly and shook my head. Oh, it's for work, so I guess I'll have to go alone. As you know, things are a bit complicated in the UK these days. Well, it is. Ellie, who was gloomy, smiled immediately. I see. Then grant me one wish. I nodded her head. I'll listen to anything. Really? I promised. Ellie ruffled her matted hair in her sea breeze. At that moment, the sun began to slowly rise over the horizon. The sea gradually turned red. We watched the scene as we held each other's hands. Come on, let me tell you my wish. Tell me. Ellie put her hands around my neck and said, kiss me right now. I stopped in Seoul for a while, then boarded a private plane and headed to London. The ostensible reason is to meet the management of a KIT, a subsidiary, and to tour the UK financial market. This is the first time I am going to the UK after it became known that I am the CEO of OTK company. There was no reason to go there, but it is true that I intentionally avoided it. The UK was in a state of chaos ahead of a no-deal Brexit. When it became known that I was going to England under these circumstances, a fierce controversy arose. The Financial Times, a British daily economic newspaper with a tradition of more than 100 years, published an article on the front page of Jin Ho Kong is coming to England. After a half-day flight, we arrived at London Heathrow Airport. After completing immigration procedures, the first thing that greeted me was the camera baptism. Shutters and lights exploded incessantly, and the microphone approached ahead of the person. For what purpose did you come to England? What do you think of a no-deal Brexit? I would like your opinion on the UK economy. Do you have anything to say to the British? The bodyguards stopped the reporters and I walked out of the airport. A car and a person from the British branch of Golden Gate were waiting. Welcome to England. This is Oliver Taylor. It is a great honor to be entrusted with the training of the representative. I wish you all the best while you are in England. I got into the waiting car. The car is a Rolls-Royce Phantom as in the UK. Like Bentley anyway, it went to Germany sooner or later. Just by looking at the driver's seat on the right, I realized that I was in England. Have you ever been to England? I nodded. I've been to London once before. I stopped by when I was traveling with Taekyu. A lot has changed now in just a few years. Meanwhile, he became the richest man in the world and Britain decided to leave the EU. On the way out of the airport, protesters violently protested on the road. The EU flag was seen on one side and the Union Jack on the other. Protests on both sides were fierce, with police stationed in the center to prevent clashes. On the picket held in his hand, phrases such as "Gang Jin who leave the UK, go back to Korea," and "speculators go away" were visible. Taylor told me, "You don't have to worry. It's the British people's own choice. They just don't want anyone to admit that they were the ones who created this situation." The glory of the British Empire, once called the country where the sun never sets, has disappeared. Germany, which they had defeated twice, emerged from the wounds of defeat and emerged as the leader of Europe, while Britain lost its place in Europe. It was humiliating for Britain to follow the German and French terms in the EU. The decision to Brexit was made to restore its former glory, but this only caused more confusion. When the voting was over, I thought Britain was leaving the EU right away. But even after more than 3 years, nothing has been resolved. Politicians are still fighting over whether or not to leave the EU, and if so, how to leave. Brexit is a misfortune for the UK and Europe, but luck for me. Thanks to this, he earned over $30 billion, which became the basis for his Carlos and Rust Belt investments. Without the Brexit event, OTK company would not have been able to grow like this. I read the article on the way home, and they were accusing me of taking advantage of the national misfortune to make money. At my words, Taylor smirked. British financiers have done a lot worse in other countries. It was the same when Korea suffered a foreign exchange crisis. There is no good or evil in money. It's just looking for revenue. He asked me carefully, "What do you think the UK will look like in the future? Will there really be a no-deal Brexit?" There was a slight uneasiness in his expression and tone of voice. Probably all British people have similar apprehensions. The EU is basically an economic community. What is important to maintain this is the free movement of goods, capital and manpower. Brexit means the UK will fall out of this single market. From now on, UK goods entering the EU and EU goods entering the UK will have to go through customs. Tariffs are a problem, but customs procedures are also a problem. As the procedure that was previously omitted is newly created, it is impossible to estimate how much restrictions there will be on import and export or how long it will take. British companies are in a state of emergency as they may not be able to get the necessary materials and parts on time. Companies with factories in the UK have been busy purchasing and stocking up as much as possible of the materials and parts they need in Europe. Ordinary citizens also stockpiled clothes, home appliances, and food with a long shelf life in case the price of goods rises or imports are blocked due to tariffs. However, if you are going to create customs procedures for EU products, there is one problem that must be resolved before that. Since England is an island country, the sea acts as a barrier. The problem is Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland, a British territory, is attached to Ireland, and there is no border wall between the two. In this way, Irish products can enter Northern Ireland without customs clearance, and from Northern Ireland back into England without customs clearance. If a no-deal Brexit becomes a reality, it is time to build a wall at the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. Is this really possible? I think the worst is not going to happen, but I don't know. Didn't you accurately predict Brexit? I smiled bitterly. I was just lucky. The UK is a traditional financial powerhouse. It is no exaggeration to say that all of the world's largest financial institutions are concentrated in the City of London. Hong Kong, which was once a British colony, became the financial center of Asia because it was greatly influenced by such influence. The UK is still the world's fifth largest economy and the head of the Commonwealth. But will it be able to maintain its influence after leaving the EU? These concerns have already had a negative impact on the economy. After Brexit, the pound continued to decline, fueling inflation. The car slowed down due to the protesters. The clashes between the two sides became more intense and profanity erupted everywhere. Taylor sighed. Where did British pride go?